Good evening, everyone. Happy Monday. It's your boy Kevin Thornton. You have tuned in to the Wellness Architect Show. Today is a Monday, March the 11th, 2019. I know, right? It's been a nice, warm, sunny day in Atlanta. First of all, I want to thank the Sigma Gamma Rose for inviting me out to do the youth symposium last Saturday. It was an amazing event. Actually, it was going on all across the United States by the Sigma Gamma Rose in every state. So for them to ask me to be out there and be part of it, was I was greatly humbled and appreciative. My next event will be March 23rd, 4th, and 5th. I will be in Greenville, South Carolina. We're having a wellness empowerment program for black men. So it's our chance to empower the black men to be the healthiest versions of themselves, mind, body, and spirit. And I'll be the wellness expert for that. So, and next Monday, I will have one of the other guests on the show, so we can talk about more of that in detail. So, look forward to that. With my co-host for the month, you know who she is, Miss EC. How you doing, ma'am?
I am doing well. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you. It's all over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We have a special edition of the Wellness Architect Show today. Dynamic duo, husband and wife team, relationship expert, counselors, and I'm hoping in the near future, reality show producers. No, serious. So, without further ado, we're going to let Dr. Patricia Dixon, Rahatir, and Tim Spears, brother Ayaku, tell us a little bit how they know so much about relationships, and then we'll get into what we're going to talk about today. The first time this couple is returning to us, we're so glad to have them again. We discussed their book, Your Soul's Partner, 7 Principles of Dating. Today we're going to get into a specific chapter within the book, which is also the title of a book in and of itself, TLC, Talking and Listening with Care. We're going to talk all things communication, and I just can't wait to get into it because we've got some experts sitting next to us. You've got to talk to the people who have been through it, who have stood the test of time, and so blessed to have you all. Thank you for joining us.
You're
again.
welcome. Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Mm-hmm. So
okay. I'll jump in. So I'm Dr. Rahatir, and I developed and taught relationships for over 20 years at Georgia State University. So I've been teaching classes for about 20 years, over 20 years, probably about 25 years. You kind of don't want to say that because now you're giving away your age.
How old is she?
Right, exactly. And I also authored several books on relationships, and so that's makes me feel like I know a little bit of something about it. I've done a lot of research in the area.
Yes.
Yeah, and I've been married for over 15 years, and so I don't only have academic experience, but I also, or knowledge, I have, experience in a marriage.
Yeah.
Right, so
applying
some of the information that I learned through doing the research in the marriage, so.
All right.
Well, I guess it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
But my name is Tim, brother Iaku, and what I have as a gift, didn't really ask for, but it's a gift, to be able to see and understand conditions that we as a culture and a community go through, and I do all within my powers reach to give some type of antidote or solution to those that's in need for my services. And that's just a purpose I have in a walk in life. So with that being said.
All right. We're going to jump into it.
Yes, ma'am.
We're going to jump into all things communication, talking and listening with care. So we want to talk about how important communication is. It has formed worlds, right? It forms your world. According to biblical text, it has formed the world. Mm-hmm. And so it affects your personal environment. When I say your world, I mean those around you, your coworkers, your home life, and everything in between. That's your world. And so when we communicate, I think we tend to forget its impact that we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And
go
ahead,
I'm
please,
sorry.
please.
No, I was just going to add to what you said about how I don't think many of us really understand how powerful words are. Mm-hmm. And if we understood, like you said, that the world was created through words, according to most spiritual knowledge systems, that the world was created through words. So if we understood that everything was created through spoken word, then we would understand how powerful words are. So we have to, take that into consideration.
So, with that being said, we've written books as tools, additional tools you can choose from to help navigate through, I guess, and around, over a lot of obstacles that you're going to face in your path as you're trying to find and connect to your soul's partner. So we're going to help you with that, through that, with the tools that we've documented for your choice of use. Could be primary use or secondary use. Just have your choices.
Yeah. And they have exercises within the book to help you really identify and giving you techniques to follow through. So it is a very thorough and detailed book, and we'll talk about some of its effects that it's having in some people in my world. So it's very interesting. But when we communicate, I think we just think about words. We don't think about body language. We listen with our eyes.
Right.
So I thought that was a very good.
And when you sent me that email with that, and I looked at, that's the first thing that stood out to me, because I'm very big on eye contact, and people who know me very well know that if you not give me eye contact while I'm talking to you, then I'll stop talking. Because if you start trying to do other things and not give me eye contact, after you're not being fully present.
Right.
So then you're not fully present. You're not really totally listening to what I'm trying to say.
Right. And that's a level of communication that I think is not acknowledged as well. Is listening. Listening is a part of communicating.
Which I think a lot of us really miss.
Yes.
That's the big part that most people miss. Right. And so that's what the TLC deals with, talking and listening. With care, right, and that's where a lot of us are really good talkers, but we're not really good listeners. And so if we developed a skill set for listening better, then we could hear more of what our partners are saying and trying to say, if we just honed those listening skills.
Because I think a lot of times, and y'all could help me out with this, I just think a lot of times in conversations with the male and female, a lot of times both or one or the other, they're not fully listening. They're listening for the response. They're not really listening to get the full understanding what he or she is trying to say.
Right. Exactly.
And how can we prevent that?
Right.
Well,
and that's the with care part.
Right.
Well, there has to be the intentional part. So you have to have intentions, okay? Because the difficult part that we have is being able to collectively combine those two, your visual sense and your articulate sense, to equal one. In order to do that, you have to, with a partner, you have to stand what you call the power and the test of time. Okay, now I'll tell you what I mean by that. The power of the test of time says that people on their life journey are faced with many experiences that attaches to them, okay, in layers. So the power of time allows you to go through experiences with patience, humility, and purpose to peel back all those layers over time to get to the jewel of where your soul lies. So then you can say, well, now I actually combine souls, and now I'm walking with my soul's partner or my soul's mate, or whatever term you want to use to say I have found that connected body with mine. So now we can experience life of bliss through connection of our soul's journey to whatever our path future lies. Right. Okay, because that's the key. Now these are tools to get through that.
Right, but see, he talked about peeling back the layers, right? A lot of us can't get to the layers because we don't listen, and we don't talk and listen so that we can get through to the layers. And that's what the goal of the TLC's 3-step program is, particularly when you're trying to problem solve, solve a problem. That's where we're getting a whole lot of murky waters when we're trying to problem solve.
Right.
And like he said, most of us are listening. We're not listening. What we're doing is thinking about what we're going to say next, versus really listening to your partner. So when I put the 3-step program together, it's really a technique designed for so we can listen and hear each other out, and so that it helps us to be able to solve problems. But there's so many different things we can talk about this.
Right. It is so many things, because it's not just listening. It's also the body language.
Right. Exactly.
And so how you listen is another part of listening. You
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
And so that changes the entire level. And I didn't realize this.
Right.
People would tell you with a quickness. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you're being disrespectful
Right.
now. Like I'm
So,
trying to get something done.
can you expound on the body language part for those who may not understand?
But we're gonna get into that.
Right.
Like, what is I care body language,
Right.
so to speak, and
Right.
what is, you have to pick up on sometimes body language lets you know you might need to be quiet in this subject or this conversation.
Let me just give you an example, though.
Okay,
Like,
please.
Somebody will say something like, because when I say the message, I mean, what we see carries about 65% of the message.
Right.
So if somebody says, "I'm sorry," now does that look like they're
It
really
didn't
sorry?
look like
Right.
it.
Right, exactly.
It didn't sound like
you said
it.
you were sorry. That's what the word talk said.
Yeah.
But what was the body talk, and what was the
Right.
tone, and what was the vibration, and all that?
Right.
So that's what
right.
we're talking about in terms of, if you say that, I'm like, I didn't hear I'm sorry. I just didn't hear that. I just know what I saw, and that's what I heard.
Or
What I
what
saw.
you felt. Because
Right,
the
or what you
tones
felt.
were abrasive.
Right.
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 Exactly.
And it
Right.
didn't feel good.
Right.
And a lot of people don't have a conscious awareness of all those things that's happening at that
Exactly.
moment.
Right. Exactly.
So-
Right. And so I think we get lost into defense, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
And
Right.
so it's kind of like not being made a fool or embarrassed, or like you said, you may have some other things going on.
Right.
And this is revealing that.
Right.
Right.
One of the things I talk about on the TLC is how when we're trying to problem solve, we get into what I call an offensive-defensive match. So you will say something that's offensive, that'll offend. The other person now tries to defend, and so now you're in an offensive-defensive match, but neither of them are getting the problem solved.
Right.
Right.
So you want to get out of the offensive-defensive mode and figure out how to get into the place where we can really have a sit down and really talk through, where we both hear each other, and get through past. Because one of the things you do when you do that is you start to peel back the layers, see what the underlying motives are, what the hidden. Because a lot of times what people say they're feeling or going through is not really what's happening, and you can't even get there until you use a technique or some technique whereby
Right.
you can say, okay, I can finally hear what she's saying, because we don't hear a lot of times.
So, quick question. Either one of y'all to answer. So, when you said offensive, defensive, communication, when one or the other is saying offensive statements that could offend the other person, what if the other person feels like, okay, do you really care for me
Right.
if you're trying to purposely offend me?
Exactly.
Well, I'd like to answer that. See, what happens is it's a skill set to navigate relationships.
Right.
So we've taken the task to try to produce the documentation that's needed to build the skills that you need to consciously navigate through these moments, because you're going to have them.
Right.
You're going to
exactly.
have them. Everyone has them. And we love our community. We love our people as a whole. And we see the direction that the relationships are going into, and they don't have to. So that's what the material is about, to help you, give you the skill set to navigate, so you can go over those small hurdles, so you can get your future that's waiting for you, because it's all a part of the process. These are all the things that have to appear so you understand how to handle what's coming tomorrow.
Let me just say a couple of things, right? It's like he just talked about the caring, and that's one of the things I focus on in the book. That's why TLC, talking and listening with care. And so one of the things we talk about in the book is how you can have a caring attitude, which says, I really care for you. Or you can have a non-caring attitude that says, I don't care about you. I don't think you're worthy, for me to listen or for me to be respectful of. Or you can have a caring attitude. And the caring attitude is, I do consider you a person of value. I consider you worthy of my respect. And so what typically happens in communication is we have a moment of not caring.
Okay.
Right now I don't care.
Right.
But see, you have to realize that you have that's what we mean by like growing, maturing spiritually, because you realize if I have a non-caring attitude right now and I say something that's wounding, then that wound could last for a long time, ever, basically, really.
Then
and so and that's the biggest
ever in your relationship.
Your relationship, see, that's y'all get me going, right? But even like one of the things we talk about is how, when I used to teach the class, I would ask the students, what do you remember most of your childhood? Do you remember the spankings, or do you remember what people said? And so, some students, depending on how brutal the spankings were,
right,
they say, well, some parents were, abusive and everything. But most people remember things that people said that were wounding. Most of us can sit right now, and talk and think and say very specifically things that people have said to us that wounded us, and we are still carrying that scar for our entire life, right? And so, which says how wounding words are. Right. They can stay with you for the rest of your life, and people don't even realize that your parents, just like God created the world through words, your parents create you through the things they say. Your partner strengthens you and creates you through the things he or she says to you. So meaning that I'm creating you and helping you to be a better person. I'm strengthening you, or I'm breaking you and tearing you down. So I'm either I'm destroying you or I'm creating you through the words I'm saying to you. Which again speaks to how powerful words are. And so we have to, in those moments that you really want to, if somebody says something offensive and you want to defend yourself and come back and say something really bad, right? Because now you're in a defensive mode, right? You have to really think about, okay, I really do care about this person. I want this to last, right? Because if you say something so wounding, you can wound somebody so bad you can't recover.
Yeah,
the relationship can't recover.
And something you said was the fact that as you grow spiritually, you start to learn more. You be more conscious of that. Right. More control. Right. And as I've grown, because when I was more immature, I should say, my tongue was very lethal. So I knew that I could hurt you with my tongue. And I would purposely hurt you with my tongue. And as I got older, I said, okay, but if I care for this person, whether it's a friend or whatever, I should not purposely do that. So if I knew I get to the point where I'm getting angry, I just say, let's table this conversation.
And that's this when you talk about inner talk.
Yeah.
Inner talk and outer talk. So a lot of people don't, like you say, you know it's going to hurt somebody. This is your inner talk. And so it reflects what you're going to say. Now, when you say it has to be congruent.
Somebody read the book.
When you say it has to be congruent.
That's right.
How do what is that? And what does that look like? And
that again comes over time. Time in the relationship with that person, and shared space and together moments. Okay, so it's like, that's why I said the power of time, because the power of time reveals many parts of that person that you need to know about, which allows you to have that inner talk and know, because what you learn is this: with the moment that was so hot and feisty based on different points of view, different perspectives, or different understandings of that person, she or he, in that moment, when you sat back and let this thing work itself out, come to find out, that was the right thing to do after all, but I didn't know and could not have known unless I allowed it to play out. That's the inner thought. I have to let this thing play out even though I am really still smoke coming out of my ears. Stand back, be humble, because still, no matter what, you're still very caring of that person. You care about that person, regardless of what it looks like. And then let it time play itself out. Then you'll say, you know what? I have learned when I am humble to her and me in the situation, and allow my inner voice to really command me to say, now time to back off, and then let that happen. The results and the fruit, man, is I would never have known unless I allowed myself to close my mouth. I would never know.
But I want to say something, because he talked about that anger, right? And one of the things that I call up the sister act, right? And, because a lot of us, they say black women have, or women generally speaking, but black, black women in particular, we have tongues of fire.
Mm-hmm.
And tongues of fire, I mean, we can destroy an ego in 5 seconds flat, right?
Yeah.
So we have to be cognizant of, you know, what we
You know
say.
what? I also, I want to say, when we talk about black women in particular, I have been exposed since a very young age of other cultures.
Yeah. So you
And
said
so-
women, period.
Right.
Okay.
And I understand that these women are taught something about the male ego at a very young age. You know what I mean? Like, they're taught how to kind of deal with that.
Okay.
And so I see that more in our community, we don't necessarily get that language.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
glad
but
you
look-
said that.
We don't get
Go
that
on,
language
go on.
lesson.
That's
Well,
right.
well,
Go
the
on.
thing is, it's a two-way street, first of all. But we have to, black people. Well, first of all, we're dealing with a culture, I think, that's not healthy, and then it's a double whammy for black people because we suffer from race oppression, then women, race and gender oppression. You know, so it's all these oppressions. And so, if we understand that we are in a condition, and a lot of our parentings, are, you know, in terms of how black men and women see each other, has a lot to do with the culture, how the culture has treated black men and women, and all the lies and deception they have taught us about ourselves and each other. So then now, people, you know, we don't, as a culture or as a cohesive culture, because, you know, people think we're just like this big lump, this big community, but we're really not. We're just communities, right? And we might share oppression depending on where we are in class. So there's a whole lot of dynamics there.
Right.
But you know, I don't think we are even necessarily taught to respect each other in certain ways, you know. And so a lot of that has to do with being in a condition, you know, being under this repressive situation. So to even begin to talk about male and female differences is not something I think that's even been a part of our discussions or our communication. And so it just makes that very, very complex even to deal with.
Right.
So,
Which is why we're discussing it today,
Okay,
which is
right.
why you all have written a book
right.
trying to reintroduce to the awareness.
To the awareness and begin to reestablish the blueprint and that in which it takes that you need to feed your children and their future journey. It's a blueprint. And in order to establish a blueprint, you got to scrape some stuff back and kind of dissect yourself, and so you can begin anew. You know, and these are the steps that we've tasked ourselves to present and give, so that you can use it in your tool shed, man, when you face certain moments in life. You know,
So you were talking about the inner talk and the outer talk.
The
Right?
inner
We'll come back to
talk,
that.
congruency
Right.
between what you're saying on the inside to yourself.
Right.
I don't think people really take into consideration. You know, when it comes to the extreme, right? But by that time, it has gotten well past the threshold of,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, by the time we realize we need to walk away, we
Right.
probably should have walked away like
Right,
15
exactly.
minutes ago.
And see, that's what I want to talk about. Hopefully we can get to it, but talk about like when you're setting up how to do the communication, talk through
Right.
stuff.
I
Because-
was tempted to go through it like
Yeah.
now, like,
I'm not
is
just
it
wondering-
that serious? You know,
It really
but-
is, because like when you're trying to talk through a problem, first of all, you got to, so many things you need to take into consideration. That's why one of the things I talk about is like just set up a meeting time.
Right. I thought that was so. A lot of people, if you're having issues, set us, and then we're going to get into why it's so hard for women to ask for these things.
Right.
You know, can I have some time? Let's have a meeting. You know,
Right.
how do you come? How do you
Okay.
do you do a hard approach, or do you do a soft
No,
approach?
I want to say something else to that too, right? Because we'll come back and talk. I don't talk, but see, and then we didn't deal with some of the gender differences, right? Because when women say, "Let's talk," we like, really? Oh, time to talk, right? You say to a guy, "Let's talk," he be like, "Oh my God, what is it now?"
Right.
Right.
You see, so it's that
Right.
stuff that those
Exactly.
differences in terms of gender, you know, in terms of how we communicate and the gender differences and things like that. So if you go to a guy and say, "Ooh, can we set up a time to talk?" Oh my God, that's going to be his
Right,
first response, right?
Now-
So now,
Exactly.
With that being said, because now, I'm not disconnected from my wife. Let me tell you, I'm connected
Like,
to
oh,
all
y'all.
body and soul and mind and thought. But Kevin, if your woman says to you, "It's time for us to have a talk," this is a male testosterone, response. We're like, wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute.
oh God, what about
But-
that now?
But when that moment that you are confronted with that, you are aware that there is an issue that you might not have seen or you might have seen. So now you have to now add your other part to that equation to make that come to manifestation. Still, even if it says, fantastic, let's go out and have dinner. And then we'll have that, discuss it over dinner. In a setting to where if you can look in her eyes at that body language and it's way up here to like past 10 ounce 11, you want to put yourself in a public environment, okay?
That's a technique. I never thought about that.
So they're witness, okay?
Right.
So just understand there's a technique and a strategy with a conscious effort and going through the journey when you're peeling back the layers, man, of getting to know somebody, know who they are, know their intentions, know where they, sometimes their body expressions really aren't what it looks like.
Well,
but you won't know that.
Right. But
you have to go through it.
But see, we have to take responsibility and accountability too. So one of the things I always say to the sisters, what do you think would be a better approach? And you walk up to a guy and you're like, we need to talk. Or if you walk up to him and say, honey, I was thinking about so-and-so and so-and-so. And then you could just move into it, because you start talking about we need to talk, that's going to create some problems.
Right.
We get defensive.
Right, you're going to get defensive. And
whoa.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And so the other thing I talk about is how women, we have got to learn how to use the power of the feminine. Right, because a lot of us, that's gotten lost in this disaster that we're
I
in.
think
Right.
it, with, like you said, it's cultural, it's conditioning.
Right.
And so it feels vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think a lot of us have lost, we don't even know what that is.
Well, I think because the culture has, puts masculinity on a high up, and it crushes femininity.
Well,
basically, because what it does is it sexualizes it, right? And so the culture has a different time distinguishing between masculinity and femininity, and then sexuality. Right? And so women, because the culture crushes it, and then they make women feel insecure about being feminine. So now you have masculinized women. So now you have masculinized men, and you have the two masculine coming together trying to resolve a problem.
Right.
Right.
We're
So,
working
and
jobs
now you're clashing.
that are.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's based on the conditioning that's developed through a single family household, and she has to play both roles.
Right.
And so when she confronts a male, because she's rearing children, and she has to have both mindsets. Sometimes it's hard to separate which one to be when you're confronted with a male with a feminine energy. So that's conditioning.
Right.
So it's our job to peel it back, find out where it lies, where the issue stems from, so we can go right to that place and fix that. Other than that, we can never fix it.
Right.
You have to find out where it's located to be able to extract it, so we can discuss it and rework it.
And then for women, a lot of us feel, black women, a lot of us feel very, very vulnerable, like you said. We feel unsafe, unprotected. It's hard to feel, because femininity comes from, in order for it to be its best, it has to have a certain level of security. It has to have a level, be safe, feel safe, it has to feel protected. If you don't feel safe, you don't feel protected, and then it's hard for those qualities to emerge. And so, and if you're in that mode where you have to be on fight all the time, now you bring, in particular for both black men and women, you have to go out and fight the world, and now you come home and it's another fight, because now you're bringing that fight mode back into the house. And so we have to learn how to leave the fight, leave all that out there, and then come in and now have some love and compassion for each other, and stroking each other. I used to say, what about stroking? And a lot of women are like, well, I ain't stroking no man, and men are like, I'm not stroking.
No, we're discussing egos now.
Right.
But
I was
really
a bit confused. But I was like, I'm going to listen to the context.
Hopefully we'll get to that place. Okay, well, we're talking egos, personalities, situations. That's it.
Okay, now is stroking complimenting?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's really just learning to just take care of each other. Learning to really care about each other, take care of each other, and not see each other as the enemy.
Okay. Now we need to, I wasn't going to get into this yet, but we got to address this right now.
Right.
Because women, when it comes to stroking, we have to communicate this.
Right.
Okay, because what I've just learned is that men, if you do something that you think will please him because it pleases you,
Right.
that is not necessarily what is going to please him.
Absolutely.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
Let's say that again. Let's make it a little
Because
bit
I had a
more
blank
simple.
stare. Is that so?
No, I wasn't
So you look at my body
expecting the
language?
left, I wasn't expecting okay from the left side. On the right.
because
That was assertive.
right, because the intention is not really for us, it's really for that person itself. So you said you gonna stroke his ego, or you gonna say or do something to try to please him, but actually it's gonna benefit you.
We know it's something that you think. Like as a woman, if I want to come home, I want this. That's not necessarily what he wants when he comes home.
Okay, now that's a good point of view, and I tell you why. Because you have that point of view when you don't know somebody
Right.
to the level in which we're discussing how that works. Because when you have spent that, again, I always use the power of time. Power of time is our allies. It's not an enemy. It's an ally. The power of time allows you to get to know that person, and then you'll know what they like. And then because there are going to be a whole lot of good days, and you'll see it. And then there'll be some tough days, and you'll see that too. So you cannot hold on to the things that didn't work. You can scrap those and hold on to the things that did work.
And that's inner work? Is that inner?
That's inner and outer. It's inner evaluation and outer conscious alert and awareness. So it has two facets to it. Okay, so inner, which is my intentions, and I'm always on alert to look at her and to see what's going on internally, and then externally regurgitating or saying back or expressing back what I know worked and scrapping what didn't. Because I tell you, that's relationships. You have to scrap what doesn't work.
Do you have to discuss that?
No, that's between me, myself, and I.
Okay.
Right, we're talking about the inner talk. But you know, we kind of was talking about the inner talk and outer talk, and we keep getting off the point there. But so yeah, the inner talk is the heart talk and the mind talk. You know,
right.
It's just so that the audience can be, you know, clear about what that is. And the outer talk is the body talk and the word talk. And so basically we're saying those need to be consistent because a lot of times they're not. And then the other thing I want to say about the inner talk too, and it's amazing, you know, as you mature, as you get older, you know, inner thoughts that are negative can be so toxic.
Yeah.
You know, they can actually make you sick.
Yeah.
Right. So you have to sometimes have the conversations to get to the place where you can have a conversation, where you can get the stuff off your chest so that you're not walking around with all that negative, all those negative thoughts, because those negative thoughts are just really, really unhealthy.
Now, negative thoughts is only a person's receiving the data and interpreting it that way.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's where the conversation comes in at, to find out it wasn't negative after all. It was very positive, because no two minds think alike.
Right.
And mainly, men and women, they're made up of different DNA. But when those DNAs get to the place where they combined, when they combine together, she does what she does, he does what he does. They combine together. That's how you connect the souls. That's how you walk the future life with a soul's partner. But you have to go through that extraction and experiences to know who she is or who he is, and to know what it is that you guys are after. You know, so that has to intertwine, and it takes, again, the power of time, because your soul's partner and soul's mate, some people are lucky and gifted to have the ability to see that in a short amount of time. Some of us take longer, but everybody has their own road. So you have to allow that road to continue to fall in front of them. Sometimes even when you don't know how are you going to get there, but you feel confident you're going to get there.
Okay, I want to get back into more of the communication stuff.
Okay.
Now, just to say, if there's ever a time that you need more clarity on what my statement might be, please ask. Just, okay.
So we're talking about good communication is consistency between heart talk, which is what you're feeling, and mind talk is what you're perceiving.
What you're thinking.
What you're thinking.
Right. And so your feelings is your, you know, and what happens a lot of times too when we talk, I just have to say, this might not even be related to it, but a lot of, you know, the ego really is to protect you. You know, it's like the person that protects you. And so a lot of people don't recognize how significant it is to let your heart speak. You know what I mean? So let the heart talk, let the heart speak, and then if we do that, then we can move away, get the ego out of the way, the protective stuff, so we can get to the heart of the matter and really what's going on and what we're really feeling. Because a lot of times we're doing this stuff and we're not really telling you what we're really feeling and thinking.
So we have to admit what we feel is embarrassing.
Right, sometimes it is. Right.
It might be, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel stupid saying this, or it would humiliate me to admit that I feel weak, or I feel rejected.
Right, or I don't feel good about myself.
And how would you know if you didn't let that person know?
And then, like,
because then you put the words and the emotions that was with those words, so now you don't have to say it anymore. He'll always see it, and so will she.
Right, because when you put the heart in it, now we can really feel it.
Right.
Right, and sometimes if you get the ego, the person out of the way, then you can really feel the heart of you can feel their heart, and it's sometimes hard to deny a person when you can really feel them. You see, so that's why you want to just let your heart speak to what you're feeling. And then, you know, and again, a lot of that gets hidden because we don't get to it. We're just in this mode that we're protecting myself and, you know, defending my turf, making sure that nobody's pouncing on my ego, which some of what I would like to talk about when we start talking about the gender stuff.
Well, we can, we're almost there.
Okay.
I want to expand on something else, because having a controlled ability of your words controls the vibrations, and vibrations is what we feel.
Right.
You know, everybody has this inner energy that people can't see, and that's what receives the vibrations of words, and that's what grows or stabs. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on, how to use the proper words in a proper manner so the vibrations come to you, and it's a growing vibration, not a diminishing vibration.
Well, see, that's what we talk about, the spirit behind words.
Right.
That's what we talk about,
The
because
spiritual
there's a
intent.
spirit behind it. So is a spirit mal, you know, intent, or is it good intent?
Now,
Right.
would the inner talk affect the spirit of?
Definitely. Because if I'm thinking negative, right, and then one of the things too we talk about, are we to that place we talk about listening, how we listening?
Yes.
Right. Because if I'm thinking negative thoughts, then the spirit behind what I say is going to probably be negative.
You know what?
Right.
And then you're probably not listening for you hear what you want to hear.
Right. That's what we mean by listening, right? Because there's effective listening and there's ineffective listening, right? So ineffective listening means you're actually thinking about all the negative things. It has to do with, some women and men have different ideas about women. They have ideas about men. All men cheat, or all men lie, you know. So now if I'm looking at my partner, he's talking to me, and if that's clouding my thinking about how I think about men, then that's going to cloud how I hear him. Or, well, he lied about this before, or he did this, or he did that, or she did it, or she did that. And now I'm filtering what I'm hearing through all that, right? So now I'm not really hearing what he's saying, or what she's saying. So what we want to do is try to do the best we can to just leave all that out and just have clear vision or clear hearing, so to speak, and just try to hear what they really hear.
That's real intention,
right?
Because especially if this has come up again, and we'll get into hopefully those techniques where, what are you going to do if this happens again? You know what I mean? Like coming out and planning your relationship resolutions.
Right. Sitting
down, having that talk over dinner or whatever, and planning out whatever resolution may work for you all. Right. But we can go into the differences between men, the way men communicate, how and why they communicate, and why and how women communicate, especially in stress, because we're constantly and consistently being bombarded with distractions and things, and so we are at a stressful, we're just constantly in a stressful environment.
So let me just lay out this little thing that I have here. So there was books that I used for this. One of them was Men from Mars, Women from Venus, and he really talks a lot about gender differences in communication. And then this other woman wrote a book that You Just Don't Understand, Men and Women in Communication. And one of the things they talk about is how early play dictates our values around how we communicate, our motivations, and then where we are in terms of our skill set in communication.
Right.
So one of the things they talk about, they said when men men are typically, their play is competitive in large groups and who's best at what, right? For girls, it's in small groups, and it's about friendship and sharing. And it's about closeness. So for a lot of girls, they have a close friend, and when they're communicating, it's all about us being close, right? And so they'll tell all their little things. Well, we did this and we did that, and when I did this, and so we told all the little details of our stuff and everything. Right. So now we're in a communication with a man. You're like, well, I did this and I did that and I did this, and he's like, what? Right. And we're expecting him to want to hear all that.
Respond like the girlfriend.
Right, exactly. Right. And so then the values for men, it's about skill, competency, status, and independence. And for women, it's about relationships and connections. So when we're talking, we're trying to connect. Right. And so then they say for men, in terms of their motivation, is to maintain position, okay, in a hierarchy, to preserve independence and avoid being pushed around. For women, it's about closeness and avoid being pushed away. Right. And so if you have these two now gender differences coming together in communication, so now how are we going to reconcile these differences in terms of how we communicate? Right. And one of the things they say is that men are really good at report talk, or good at like this kind of talk. Like when they're in the center, right. Women are more good at report talk. So we're good at just that intimate talk. And so a lot of men don't have a skill set for even doing intimate talk.
That's right.
They don't know how to do all that little, and so when we start trying to share all the detail of our day and all the little things we did with our friend and our mother and this and that, and they're like, what do I do here? Right. Some of them, right? But the guys give some really good skills strategies for that. You could just kind of like, oh, I see. Oh, really? Yeah. Even if you don't have anything, to respond with. Right. Yeah. I see. Right. And then you got anything you want me to do? So it's just really basically just having a skill set. And so it's really about women, and both men and women having what some people call women's skills, men having women's skills, and women having men's skills. Right. And so like you said, a lot of us are not taught this, and this is the goal of doing the relationships, education, because we don't live in a culture where that's even important. Right. One of the things I always would talk about, start off my class with, is that we would go through, I talk about in my 7 principles of dating, that we go through, at least 12 years of education. Then, if you go to college at 16, if you go through graduate school, so by the time you finish, you might have 18 to 25 years of education, depending on how many years of education you get. But nobody teaches us how to do a relationship. Right. So most of us come out as one big fat experiment. Right. Even children, nobody even teaches us how to raise children. Children are an experiment. Most of us are an experiment. Right. That's why we jacked up. A lot of us are jacked up because we were just an experiment with our parents. Nobody gave them a skill set for how to raise children. And so
that's good, because I tell you this from a male perspective, that has kind of endured and overcome the test of time, is you have to find that slot to fit in, because the people are different, and what she might like and what I might like, we have to go through some things, so I can be that one that says yeah.
He's learned to do that. He's really good at that, actually.
Because I found where that slot lies.
Right.
Before then, I didn't know. I had to go through a whole bunch of things of not paying attention to paying attention to saying, to have my own selfish desires of what I really want to do individually, and then I didn't recognize, as relationships are binding you together. Yeah. But I have to find out where that slot lies of time, of her intentions, time that it takes my attention to be there. So that when you figure out where that slot lies in your relationship, your personal space shared with your woman, inside the walls, solid walls of your all's energy together that has to integrate, and stay at peace. That's at peace. Yeah. For you to get 10, 15, 20, and 30 years like your parents did, a generation gone. Right. And now we have to redesign a blueprint so we can start this up again, because we said, well, how in the world? Because we see elders and they're just so happy and they've been together for 50 years.
They may have had 25 unhappy marriage.
Yeah, but that's okay. Let me tell you why that took place. Because there are moments in their journey together that they both witnessed together, moments of true erotic bliss in many different fashions and visions and moments that in all different categories. And they're so beautiful, they're worth to go through whatever I got to go through to get that again.
Right.
So I'm going to go through it because I know it's there.
Right, they know it's there.
I know it's there.
That makes a lot of sense.
I know it's there. Yeah. And so you have to get to that place and recognize and witness in real time, real life, real moments, you and her together, as witness to each other, and says, "Did you see that? Yes. Did you feel that too?" Yeah. See. So, and I know that it's there, and we just got to work again for the next time.
Yeah.
Because we know it's coming, because it's worth it. It's worth every second.
I just
And that's
want-
how other elder generations were able to go 20 and 30 and 40
Yeah,
years.
because like my parents have been. It'll be 49 years
See?
Wow.
in June.
Right, and you wonder how they do it.
Right.
There we
And,
go.
like, and you know, and just to watch, it's like, okay, it's, you know, I think one of the things in our generations now that they did, they built a friendship.
Right.
They built a true friendship. So
Right.
at the end of the day, as they get older, all you really have left is the friendship
Right.
and the love for each other.
Right.
And so they purposely learn how to enjoy each other's company.
Right.
And how to,
Companionship.
and
Right.
companionship,
It's beautiful.
and learn how to talk.
Right.
You
Right.
know, one's more talkative than the other,
Right.
and so she has to just be patient with my father. He like to talk.
He's a talker.
He's a talker.
Yeah.
And so
it's rare
he-
you get a guy talking,
right.
but they do have guys. Some guys are really talkers.
He's a talker,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
he's gonna talk. He's gonna talk, and she's the quiet one,
Mm.
and so she just learned how to
Just listen.
entertain it.
Yeah.
You know,
You got to do the
right?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
I'll tell you about our personal relationship. When I see, we both dig in sometimes, and when I see she's dug in, doing some research, doing some creating or writing or something, and I can see she's tensed and she's in it, I'll just come up and back of her. She's not even paying me no attention, and I rub her shoulders, rub her back, rub her, and just calm her down, ease her muscles, and just ease on out. You know, that's it.
You're a good guy.
That's it. And I do it all the time because that's the weight that's on those that take on the task for others. It's a task of many that's heavy on our shoulders.
But I want to say something. 'Cause you
So,
just go on.
Yeah, because I'll.
But I was thinking of this statement that they said that when many women get home from work, she has about 4,000 more words to say.
Right.
By the time he gets home, he's finished. He's said all his words for the day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And
Right.
so
We don't understand, like, so our way of, and we tend to take their, as they don't care.
Right. And that's
Just
what
silence.
creates
We
a
take
lot of
we
conflict.
take a lot personal.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, when a man tunes out and he's
Right.
focused on something else, nothing else really exists, right? If the game
Yeah.
is on, or if he's doing his research, it
Right.
could be anything.
Right.
When a man is focused on something, that's it. And it's kind of like I think Dr. Gray talks about how
Right.
men will go and come back. I think called the rubber band effect.
Yeah.
And
right.
so we tend to take that
Right.
as women personal.
Right. Well, here's what happens. One of the things he did talk about in his works is that how when men come home, in order for them to restore, they have to build up testosterone again. And testosterone means you need to kind of separate in order for it to build back up. For females, they have to build up estrogen. And so in order for them to connect, in order for them to be able to build the estrogen back up from a tired day, they need to get close. So it's like you have these two different. He needs to separate. She needs to get close, and now the issue is how do we reconcile
Right.
Two different
That is the
dynamics.
biggest.
in terms of us in order for us to regenerate.
And I was thinking that too. If men speak for status and hierarchy, and we're speaking for closeness and intimacy, how does that work?
I can answer that.
But let me just before you get there.
Okay. Go
Well,
on.
some of it is has to do with just understanding that.
Right.
Right. So understand. Okay. See, I had to learn with him. I'm like, okay, but I just want to say this. I've been around, like his mother comes from, I love her, but sometimes I've been around her and she hasn't had anybody to talk to in days, and then she'll just talk, right? So I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, I got a big headache, right? So then it made me realize, like, this is what you sound like to him. You just talk. And so it can give somebody a massive headache after a while, so you have to learn to, okay, I see he needs some space. Let me just kind of chill, and I can, get back with him later. We had to actually get to that because we used to fight over that earlier on because I would think that I needed to talk. I just need to get it right now. And he's like, well, I'm trying to think. And I was like, oh, I see. He needs to really get in his own headspace and think too. I've already been in my headspace, and now I need to talk.
Right.
So he needs to get in his headspace. And so now I said, let me retreat and let him do that. So it's just recognizing who your partner is, recognizing who you are, and then learning to give and take. You know, sometimes I do like, right, honey, I need to talk about this right now. Would you please listen? Or, well, I don't need to talk about it right now. You know, let me give him some space so he can get his head straight, and then maybe he can come back at it. Or I'll say, when you get a chance, I'd like to be able to express something, get your thoughts and ideas on this.
Okay.
So it's that kind of stuff.
Now, that's external communication.
Right.
Now, externally, when you're with your partner over the course of time, and she has this moment that she has to get it out, he receives that, and he shuts it down and allows it to come in. See, but sometimes you don't know the urgency levels that's really important, you know, when she has these moments. Just like, you know, the male may have the moment, but again, she said, what the most thing about males, mainly males that are driven, they internally process how their day has to go. So
Well,
they're
we
silent.
do the same too.
Yes, a lot of them, we're silent more than we have internal processing, where she may have, we may have
Yeah,
outward processing.
Right.
You know, so you have to know the difference when those moments are happening, so allow them to take place without interference, so therefore there's no in the midst of it.
Right.
You know, and again, that has to form through time,
Right.
through getting to know somebody and their rhythm.
Right.
And how they
Everybody
process
has a
it.
certain rhythm that they walk in life. And everything life on this planet from the spring, summer, fall, is a rhythm. So do we, as indigenous walkers on this planet, we have a certain rhythm about us. So thank you for allowing me to share that, because to get into that sync of rhythm, you have to really begin to walk with your soul's partner. That's when you become whole. Okay. All right, and in that rhythm.
But so
anyway,
basically, we're talking about processing.
Now
how
we get
Right,
into
how-
processing.
how-
Right.
processes
Right.
things. Some
So-
people just need to, and I think we talk about how women, we talk it out. That's how we process.
Right.
That's how we
Women
come
talk
up
it out.
with our
Right.
solution.
Right.
We'll talk ourselves into one.
Right.
Whereas men talk when they have the point.
Well, like what happens.
The bottom line.
Well, no, yeah, for some people, okay, some people are inner talkers, some people are inner processors, some people are outer processors. So, like a person who's an outer processor need to talk through, like you just said, right? So it means they'll go and talk to everybody, talking with the mother, the father, sister, brother, family. And then but if a person's very private, they might perceive it as putting their business out.
Right. Exactly.
Right, and so that creates some real problems.
That's
And then other people need to think it through until they come up with a solution. They have to process through their thoughts and feelings internally. And they said typically it's guys who do that, and typically it's girls who like to talk. But you know, it goes the other ways. It goes both ways. So now, how do you, like you said, how do you reconcile an inner processor and an outer processor? And so sometimes the women are like, well, I need to talk about it right now. Well, is it 12 o'clock at night? You know, are you going to even get anywhere with it? You know, so you have to take some of those kinds of things into consideration. So anyway, so the point is how do we reconcile somebody who's an inner processor with somebody who's an outer processor? You know,
Okay.
So those are some of the challenges.
Right.
In being in a relationship.
Well, it can go back to the basic one-on-one, back of yesteryear. You'd be surprised what conversations they had over dinner. So if we go back to just having basic dinner together, you'd be surprised what the opportunity is to speak what's on your mind in peace.
Right.
You know, just over dinner. you
But
know.
see, I think now with social media, that the loss of communication has
Oh my God, it's
is
crazy.
down. Because even when you see people out at restaurants,
Everybody
they're
on
not
the
really
phone.
communicating.
I think that is so rude.
It is
Like,
They're not
insane.
communicating.
Put the phone down.
They both-
Like, I mean,
Yeah.
you always have it.
They both on the phone and they're not talking to each other.
Right, it's
Well,
amazing to see.
Today,
It is.
today, 2019, is a time where it's filled with a bunch of
We have a lot coming at us.
a lot coming at us in your life, in your walk, in your journey. There's a whole bunch going on, but we have to understand that there are false realities.
Right.
That's
A
not
lot
really
of that stuff
real.
ain't even real.
It's not real.
Right.
So when you identify that those false realities, the things that you see on social media, a lot of the stuff that you see in the music videos, that's not real life.
Right.
So when you aspire to do those, it's going to lead to disaster because it's not real. It has an ending.
Right.
Okay, but when you understand that there's false realities, let it go. That's not really what I want to base my future on. I want to base my future on my home. Then that's real reality.
So, why let's get in. We'll get into conflict, and
Okay.
then we'll play a small clip where maybe you can explain what the clip is.
Oh,
what's going on.
what the clip does, it actually shows the technique for talking through a problem. So it just basically showed me showing a couple. Well, prior to that, I let them talk, and they just kind of got their stuff off their chest. And then I let a couple kind of talk through, gave them a technique for talking through their problem.
So we'll go through about the first 6 minutes of it, and then as you can, well, I don't know if anyone can see, but if it's on a YouTube clip, Dr. Patricia Dixon, relationship coach, TLC, talking and listening with care. If you want to pull that up, it's about 14 minutes and 41 seconds, but we're going to play the first 6 minutes.
Or you can navigate, I guess.
Yeah, I can tell where to stop.
Okay. So we'll listen out for it. Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to remember to use talking and listening with care. And what we want to remember is the 3 C's of caring. The first is that I consider you a person of value and of worth. The second C of caring is that I'm concerned about your happiness as well as my own. And the third one is that I'm committed to this relationship. And so what we would like for you to do now is that when one person is talking, the other person reflects back with care what they're saying until they're finished expressing how they feel. And then once that person is finished, then the next person will take this card and begin to express back with care what they're feeling. But the objective here is that we want you both to be able to communicate and express all that you feel before you begin to talk about how you want to resolve the issue. Now, who would like to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay. So now while you hold this card, the only thing that you will do is you will reflect back what she's saying. Okay.
Right.
And then when she finishes expressing what she feels, then you can take the card and then you reflect back. She reflect back to what you say.
Okay.
Well, the way I feel is that any time that you leave our home, that you let me know that you're leaving and where you're going. And I just feel that you have a big problem with that, and I have a problem with it because you never know when you walk out that door if you're going to return. At least if I knew where you were, if I was to get a call, I'd know where to start. More than that, we have children to consider.
Okay, now you're going to reflect back what she just said. No, you hold the card.
Well, I hear you talking, and mostly I'm just...
No, what you're going to do is just reflect back what she said. You're not going to express your side until you get the card.
Okay.
You're just reflecting what she just said.
All right, what I hear you saying is that you need me to let you know where I am every minute of the day. That's what I hear.
Okay.
Okay, now you can just tell them again if that's not what you said.
That's not what I said. What I mean is, whenever I leave the house, I say, John, I'm going blase, blase. I carry my cell phone in case you need me, the kids need me, or someone in the family calls with an important message. You just recently got a cell phone. You don't carry your cell phone every time you leave the home, and I have a problem with that because it could be a minute after you left to 10 minutes after you left. If I need you, I should be able to contact you. That is the purpose for us having the phones. And I'm not trying to know where you are every minute of the day, but it shouldn't be any reason why you wouldn't want me to know I'm your wife.
Okay, now, so you don't want to say too much so he can reflect what you just said.
Okay. I do need to let you know where I am. And I believe that...
No, the only thing you're doing is reflecting what she said.
Oh, so you're saying that I need to carry my cell phone wherever I go, and still the same difference. I should let you know where I am every minute. 5, 10, 15 minutes, it don't matter. It's still the same difference.
You want to be careful about body language.
Okay, maybe I'm not saying it the right way that you're getting the message.
Say it.
What I'm saying is this, husband. I love you. I care about you. There's been a lot of mistrust issues in our life. Today, I'm trying to look beyond that. It's a brand new year. We both love both our children dearly, and they love us. And they look for one, they look for the other. When one is gone, they have a question. That's not so important to you that when you leave your home, you're leaving your family. All you have to do is just say, wife, I'm going blase, blase. And it shouldn't be a big thing, you know. If you're going out, I think that you should consider and just say, do you have anything to do? Did you have anything that you had planned to do today? Because I would like to go out. No, I'm going out with the boys for a few hours or so and so, you know. Let me know. Don't just leave, end up somewhere, you know, and get busy with wherever you're at and what you're doing, and don't call your family.
Okay, so we want to reflect back honestly what you think she's saying.
Well, what I hear you saying is that I don't let you know where I'm going when I leave, and that I should let you know where I'm going when I leave. I guess that's what I hear you saying.
You're correct.
Okay, now we're trying to get somewhere.
Is that all? So you feel like he understood what you said? Do you feel like he thoroughly understood what you said? Okay.
I feel like he understood it.
Okay.
No.
All right. So now, then, or do you have something you would like to express? And if you do, then it means you take the card now. She'll reflect back what you said.
Sure, I have something I'd like to express. My thing is that I just disagree with you totally. You know, I believe that a lot of things go over your head. I feel like I do let you know when I leave the house, which is pretty much just going to work. And if I don't let you know that I'm leaving the house, it would be to go in the front of the house or maybe across the street to the store. This is the only time that I don't let you know that I'm leaving that house.
Okay, reflect back what he said.
Okay. So then I should assume that any time you leave the house without telling me that you're only right outside or you went across the street to the store, and if you are either, that you will be back momentarily. And that's why you didn't carry your cell phone.
Is that what he said? You're reflecting back what he said?
I'm reflecting back on what he said.
Okay. Did she interpret what you said accurately?
I think that's pretty much what I said. You know, I'm right there in the vicinity of that house. If I leave out that door and do not let you know where I'm going, I am at the store, I am next door, I am right there where you can almost yell my name and I'll hear you. That's exactly what I'm saying. As well as saying that I disagree with you, with what you said about me not letting you know when I leave the house.
Okay, John?
Are you reflecting back?
Mm-hmm.
No, are you reflecting?
Yeah, I'm reflecting.
First reflect what he said. Make sure he's clear.
There are numerous times that...
Are you reflecting what he said? Right now
what
you're
I
just
just
reflecting.
said.
You're not going to express yourself yet until you tell him what he just said to make sure you heard him.
Okay. You're disagreeing that you're saying that you tell me every time you leave the house, other than maybe periodically running to the store. or outside.
We do a
In
lot of
front
it, actually.
with your
Well, that was a good clip.
Yeah.
That was a good clip.
Yeah, to show, you know,
Real
the
life.
technique. Yeah, but just show how you slow it down.
Yes.
Right.
Because the part of these 3 steps, one of them is to really, you want to talk through the issue, just really hear each other before you, because a lot of couples try to jump right into solution.
Right.
Oh, we should do this, we should do that. No, just talk it out so we can really hear each other. Because what you'll find is what you think it is not what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So as time goes on, you realize that in that conversation, it's really about her wanting to spend more time with him. It's not even about him leaving. It's really about him not spending time with her and spending it with somebody else. But you won't get to that until you really take the time out
Right.
and talk it, hear each other, reflect. We call it reflective listening. When you reflect, keep reflecting till we get it all out. And then once we get it out.
But what's funny
The
was,
video was actually, I hope
yeah,
everyone was able to see it.
yeah,
It was, you should go check it out because it's definitely, you don't see arguments like where somebody stops and says, okay, well, what I hear you saying is
Right.
because she kept getting upset with his interpretation.
right. His filter was like completely different. No,
They were.
he
they
heard
were
what
two
he.
totally
It's like he heard what he
different
wanted to
styles.
hear.
Right.
You
And
know.
I think he heard what he wanted to hear, and I think some of it is power.
Mhm.
Because some people they play that because they want to maintain a certain level of power. Remember, we said men want to maintain hierarchy
And
so,
independent.
and independent.
Like,
So
he wanted his independence.
independence.
right. So he doesn't want her to realize like so what happens is when you slow it down. Now we can really see each other. You peek your car because some people use it as a power play, you know, and that's what I hate to say it, but because men want to maintain hierarchy, a lot of times it's about power. So maintaining independence, not making sure you're not pushing me around and all that. I think he did hear her. I think that he just didn't want to say he heard her.
Or,
Right.
or they
Or he
had
may have
two.
not, actually.
Right, they have two intentions. He wanted to maintain independence, and she wanted to say, "Well, we love you. We got a beautiful family, and we want to enjoy together time, which is
Right.
just as beautiful as your outside time with your buddies.
Right.
So come in the house and let's enjoy us together in this.
Right.
You know,
I was kind of expecting her to say, I don't trust you. And that's
Right.
why I want you to take your cell phone because we've had issues
well,
like this
she did
before.
say that.
Yeah, she said that.
But,
she
but
said
by the
that,
third
right.
time,
Right.
yeah.
She said that.
Some of that's that
Right.
too, but because a lot of that's there's often multiple reasons why people.
Right.
But there was a real deep, the underlying one, and that was, well, you spending time. Can you spend time with us too?
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I just want you to be home with me sometimes, and if you want to go out, fine, but spend time with me too. So I'm saying that, but you won't get there unless you really talk it all the way through and get down to what you're really feeling, what your heart is really feeling, versus the fact that you're disrespecting me, you're going out, you don't call me, that's
Right.
part of it. But
Right.
the other part is like, okay, but spend some time with me.
Right.
So,
And that's a part of the inner talk is getting to what you really want.
So,
Right.
so was the initial part when she was saying how he don't call and all this kind of stuff? Was that like the ego talking to, like, protect her feelings?
well, that's real too.
It's real too, but
Right.
also kind of protect her from really how she really felt. Was the
Well, I think it had to do with feeling, kind of disrespect, because you feel a little disrespect if somebody goes out and don't say something. It's probably a whole lot of things that goes on, but when it got down to that one particular thing, so it's all multiple things, but then it got down to that, could you spend some time with me, so,
all that.
right?
Well,
so
and there's another, again, based on the community that we all live in, because she had concerns of safety.
right, safety.
Right.
They have, and then
You
the
know.
other thing I meant to say, because all couples, they're childhood sweethearts, so they've been together for a long time, and so couples have been through a lot. There's a lot of resentments that build up. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and so, and then because people sometimes have trust issues and all that, so it takes time. They're still together. They have a great marriage.
Right.
You
It
know.
just it
Right.
worked out.
And they got grown kids now. I mean, and so, but over time, there's a lot of buildup. We never even got the chance to do what I was trying to get to with them that day because they were just getting stuff off their chest from years of buildup, and so that's part of it. So if you can get sustained through the storms, then you
Right.
might be able to get through the good stuff.
Because the storms will, when you really look back, they were so small. And people crash and burn over the smallest topics because they couldn't slow down and peel it back, get to the root, and dissolve it.
So some things I want to say about conflict, because what we need to know is that conflict is inevitable. You're going to have it. You're never going to be on the same page. You're not 100% compatible. You know, so it's always going to be conflict. It's how you conflict. And so a lot of us, when we get in conflict, the most significant thing you want to do is realize that you're having a conflict and you're not. Let me first kind of define what it is, but basically it's when something's interfering with a want or need, a goal or an expectation. So that's what conflicts arise. And so what we need to recognize is that it is inevitable and it can be a blessing, because it helps us now to begin to peel back the layers, see what's going on, identify who we are, what our needs and wants and goals are. But again, it's how we conflict that's really significant and important. So you want to be able to, if you're in conflict, walk away with both persons' dignity intact. Because a lot of times you conflict, and I walk away feeling completely wounded and bruised. Other person walks away feeling completely wounded and bruised. And sometimes you don't recover from the bruises and those wounds. So you want to be able to talk, and even if you could, you know, once I started teaching this, I recognize I know every time a conversation goes bad, at what point it goes bad and how I can stop it, right? It just depends on your willingness to do it, right? And so, and there's techniques for that. And so people would ask me, well, most of us don't communicate like that, right? So my thing is, say you start talking, and then there's you realize it's getting a little bit out of control. All you have to do is go into a listening mode, a reflective listening. So person, y'all talking, you're going at it. Then you just say, okay, so you feel like so-and-so, so you think, and you'll be surprised how that conversation will turn around.
Wow.
Because the person will be like, yeah, that's how I feel. You actually listen. They're shocked. And most people are shocked when you're really listening to them. Yeah. So then I'll get it, then you come in and say, well, would you mind listening to me after this? You know, because now you've softened it, and you get to that place, and so now you can talk it through in a way that,
So that's the femininity of honey to bees. You get more bees with honey.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it's males also in the moment of the female energy, and to let down his testosterone, that testosterone shield, and just breathe and just be humble. That's all. And don't be trying to assert your power of stance, because you have it by nature. You're powerful by nature. I don't have to prove to you I'm powerful. It's mine by right. Just like she is such a feminine beauty, she has by right. So I don't have to prove that. She doesn't have to prove that. I just have to acknowledge that and just let this thing roll, and we'll be okay.
And I think a lot of times we expect each other to respond how we would respond.
Right.
And so women tend to give
yeah, and then they
expectation that we're going to get it in return.
Right. And then it starts increasing.
Right. And so that's what I think starts to build the resentment.
Okay.
And then we'll, as the new term, we'll go ghost.
Right.
Or we'll outburst. Right. Go stupid. Go wholesome.
I love these conversations because it really tells me how important the job that we have to continue to go forward with in writing material, continuously speaking, continuously trying to nurture or give information wherever it's needed to help us navigate this thing called life.
You know, women go stupid, right? It's like you hear women say things like, well, he should know this. No, he shouldn't. Because some people just don't know.
Right, you just don't know.
You just got to tell them what you think, what you want. You just got to, even if you got to tell them again and again, just tell them. You know, but do it in a nice way. You don't have to.
Why is it so hard, you think, for women to just really ask for what they want? I mean, we'll like that lady. She went around and around and around and around, and finally we got to what is it I really want? Are we that
a lot of
scared
times
of rejection?
I think a lot of times you don't even know yourself until you start talking it out. You see, you might think it's one thing, in response to your question too. You might think it's one thing, and then you realize, oh, this is really not what I'm feeling. This is what I'm really feeling. But if I didn't have a chance to really express it and really talk it through, to even get to the bottom of why I'm even feeling what I'm feeling, then I can't even get there. because we in that offensive defensive match, and we just never get there.
So what about that? Bless you.
Bless you.
So what about that? Your coworker who
My coworker
used to.
got the book and began to do the exercises in the book, and I shouldn't have said that. I should have said an acquaintance. But anyway, an acquaintance. And they ended up taking a break from the relationship. And so these things happen.
They happen, and it's still a benefit because now they can go enter, they can have reflective time in their own individual space, and then if they decide to come back at it, they'll come back at it with a better understanding. It's funny, I mentored a group a little while back of some young brothers, man, and I had these conversations, and at the end, the young brother said to me, "You mean to tell me that they didn't already know this?" I said, "No, they don't know this."
Right.
They said, "Well, I had no idea."
Right.
So where I thought that they knew these things all along, I said, because DNA of a male, DNA of a female are different. Their minds and your mind are different. So in order for them to know really what's going on, you have to have these discussions. Because her perception or understanding or judgment or of whatever she resolved to her answer might be different than what's really going on. Because that's the best she can. Only way for her to know exact is for you to express or explain or show what it is that what your intentions were.
A lot of us still walk around guarded.
Right.
When you walk around guarded, you're not going to get to the meat of things. So you have to let that ego go and let the guard down. But I just want to go through some of the things, like one of the three-step program consists of inner talk, outer talk, and then the co-action. So the inner talk, what you want to do is go through a process. So for example, you want to look at what's causing the problem. You want to clearly identify what the problem is, even before you get to the place of talking. And then you want to work through your thoughts, through your feelings, and then think about what action you will take. And I've found that sometimes when you go through the steps in the process, you realize it ain't even worth talking about.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You're like, you know what, after I went through this, it ain't even that deep. It ain't even that serious. And so then, you realize your action is no action, because it's not even worth talking about. But even when you go through that process, what you want to do is you want to look at your interpretation. Sometimes we think people mean things that they don't really mean. You think their behavior is something that's not real. It's not even real. It's what we're perceiving, and it's not even what the intention is. And so you want to look at self-focus versus other focus. If you focus on how it's making you feel versus on what they're doing, then you're going to have a different conversation. So rather than saying, you did this or you did that, then you can say, well, I feel, you look at how it affected you. So I feel this, or it makes me feel, when you don't talk to me, it makes me feel this. Or if you stay on your cell phone, it makes me feel that. Versus, you stay on your cell phone, you don't love me, those kind of things. So you start blaming. One of the probably the most significant technique that you can use in communicating, particularly when you're trying to work through a problem, is to use the I versus you.
Okay.
Right, I feel, this is how I feel, this versus you. Because as soon as you start saying you, then you're blaming, and defenses go up, and now I have to guard.
It's more like an attack.
It's an attack.
Well, you're blaming him on how you feel, and how you feel is how you feel.
Right.
So this is how I feel, so he'll understand how you feel.
Right.
It's not how he feels. He didn't do it. That's how you received it.
Right. So he might not even have any
perceived
intentions.
it.
Right. It wasn't even intentional. He didn't mean to hurt or anything, but it's just that's how you took it. So you talk. You don't help me fold the clothes. Well, I didn't know you wanted me to, or I didn't know it was important to.
Right.
So I could really appreciate if you help me fold the clothes because it keeps the house from being junky. That stuff. It's just little things like that. You'd be surprised. Little things like that can ruin a relationship, a marriage. So.
Because it builds up without coming out, and by the time it comes out, it explodes.
Right.
Because people's experience in life, from childhood to meeting that person, they have been exposed to certain experiences, and they didn't know that those experiences weren't the proper way, or did not help or shouldn't coexist with inclusive of other experiences. So
I just want to go. So when you do the outer talk, there's steps to that. You want to approach your partner. And you talk about the hard approach versus the soft approach. Do the soft approach. Hard approach is when you're coming off, abrasive. Nobody's going to respond well. So, honey, I would like to have a conversation about so and so. let's plan to meet. You know, what's a good time for us to do this? Let me know it's a good time for us to have this conversation or whatever. And then you plan to meet, and then you go through the issue talking, which you showed right there. You talk through the issue, and then the next step is resolution. How do we resolve this? And so then there's steps you would take to resolve the problem. One of the things you want to take into consideration when you do that is you want to take into consideration timing. Remember, you know, people say, well, we need to talk, because some people have this ideal, I don't want to go to bed without something that we haven't talked through, you know, or, so do you think you're going to have a productive conversation if a person's had a full day, you see, and they're tired? So you got to take into consideration those things. You got to take into consideration what a person's going through. Somebody's just experienced a death in their family. You're talking about, do you love me? You know, or you didn't do the dishes, you know, so it's those kind of things. You got to take that kind of stuff into consideration. And then some of the strategies you want to use is I just said I statements. You want to consider things from their vantage point. You know, how are they feeling and how are they thinking? Stay on the subject. Okay, people, well, you did this back then. You start talking about something that happened 3 years ago. You know, so you want to, you know, avoid all of things. Stay away from always and never. I had a couple I was helping talk through a problem, and what he was doing is she would say, well, you always, or you never. And then what he was doing is he would use that to say, that's not true. So now the conversation goes this way, because now you just said I always and I never, versus if we don't use those words, because most time people don't always or never do anything.
They'll stay on top.
Right,
topic.
exactly. Right, so it's just those are the kind of, you know, things you want to, strategies you want to use.
So what is we, you, SI?
Oh, okay. It's an Afrocentric term.
Okay.
And they talk about how we're all spirit. We're all connected through spirit. And so if we're connected through spirit, then that means that we means it's we and it's us and it's I. So how I took this and used it, or we took this and used it in the TLC, is that we could communicate in ways that's going to have a good effect on us. That helps. I forgot how I would put it, but you know, it just means we, us, and I. So if we communicate well, then it helps us to build a good relationship, and it helps build our families and our communities. So it's not just about me; it's about us, and it's about our families and our community in the broader world community. Because
Future
if we
in progress.
Right, if we do well, then it helps our children to do well, and then we can do well in the culture, and it helps the culture to do well. So we have more healthy people doing well. And so it's just about we, us, and I, not just about me,
Right.
or you.
It's about balance.
It's about balance.
So we getting close to that time.
Wow.
Okay.
I know, great conversation.
Wow.
We never have enough time. So I want each of you to speak to the audience on whatever. It can be whatever's on your spirit at this present moment. You feel that the audience and us need to hear. This is your chance. So, Dr. Ra first, ladies first.
Okay. I'll just say, we live in a society. It's very difficult, so it's very difficult navigating relationships, and we just have to just learn to love each other, and just learn to let it go of a lot of stuff that has so little significance in the grand scheme of things, and just learn to love, care for each other, take care of each other. That's because if we don't take care of ourselves, take care of yourself, and then take care of each other. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, nobody else will. Look out for your partner. Stop fighting all the time. Get past the dumps, the stupid stuff, and let the ego go. And just learn to love. Just focus on your heart and what you really feel, and just do a better job at that. Plus, I also want to say,
I'm gonna say, tell people how to get in touch with you and what you got going on.
Oh yeah. Well, one of the things we're doing a talk show too, and it's called In Conversation, and so we're going to be doing a number of topics. And so if you're interested, reach out to us on YouTube, on Facebook, and let us know, because we're going to talk about all kinds of community issues. And so, but one of the things I want to offer to the community is that for couples who would like me and Musa Curry to help facilitate conversation, to be able to talk through an issue, we would love to do that. We will do it for free if you let us use it for social media to help other people. So we just want to let you know we're available to help you facilitate a conversation, to talk through your partner through an issue.
I think that's a wonderful service, and a lot of people I know need it, because that couple, it was just like before he could reflect, we were already like, well, you did this, right? Like, it was like, no, say what you heard. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
and I think that's an awesome technique that we that we have. So how can people get in touch with you? Let us know the Facebook handle, the handles.
Yeah, I do have a number, 404-549-4725. 404-549-4725 if you want me to help you talk through a conversation, facilitate us to help facilitate a conversation, work through an issue. And again, we'll do it for free if you let us use it. Other than that, then of course there'll be a cost, and we'll talk to you about that.
Okay. Well, I close, and first off, I want to thank you all for having us on the show.
Thank you.
You know, the invitation from you both is very worthy for our 100% attention and our showing up. But people, if you look at people like they're really good people, because people are really good people, and you really see that, and you really want to get the most out of that, then look at them that way. People have different projects, processes, and methods, and even destinies out here that may look, you know, but internally they all come from a good place. So see them, treat them like that, try to get the best out of them, and try the best that you can do to reflect that same as well. So with that being said, if you come to glitches in the road, roadblocks, barriers, curves, by all means, man, we're here to help you straighten that curve back out, back on the straight and narrow path, and help you give you the skills that you'll need to be able to communicate successfully to continue together on your path. So with that being said, again, thanks for allowing me to say that.
Thank you. EC.
Thank you again for tuning into this special edition with Dr. Patricia Dixon and Brother Tim Spears, aka Dr. Rahatir, and Brother Ayaku. I'm getting better with it.
All right.
Okay, so if your soul's partner, 7 steps to attract love and relationship of bliss. Tell us how we can get our hands on
Amazon.
Amazon.
Just go straight
Okay.
to Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazon is there with the rest of her books as well. Is this one available on Amazon too?
Yeah, that's available too. That's the one I used to use for my relationships course, actually.
African American relationships, marriage, and families.
Yeah. So all of them have exercises to help couples work through, you know, because sometimes you can do self-help, and if you do the exercises, it helps you work through whatever it is you need to work through, get to know yourself better. Because a lot of us don't even know ourselves well.
Right.
And so getting to know yourself better, you know, then you can then spend the time getting to know your partner too.
And sometimes it takes the experience of both of you to get to know who you are.
Right.
All those things that you face is a part of building a better you.
Yeah.
And
That's true.
that's
You
right.
don't get to see parts of yourself.
Right, better you,
Right.
better her, better us, better we,
That-
better.
That's good because I mean, it says one more thing that there's a saying that marriage are people growing machines. It helps you grow because it helps you know yourself and helps you do a better job with yourself. It helps you know, anyway. It just helps you grow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're giving you the skills to equip, and you have to be intentional about this.
Oh,
Right, you have
definitely.
Like you have to go. You know, I think a lot of people just fall into relationships, but
No.
this is
it's
intentional.
skill.
When you're falling into it, that's why you have so many problems. You got to do it with a skill set.
Right.
Well, you can take the slow road or the fast road. It's up to you.
Right.
The gift of time. So that's all I have to say. Thanks, and I will see you all next time. We're gonna get back on our health stick, and we're gonna discuss a little information the next time I see you.
Alrighty.
All right.
First of all, I want to thank you guys. It's always a pleasure because I learn a lot. You know, I feel I do a lot of self work on myself. This the stuff that you guys say has helped me, you know, take what I'm doing on the next level, and it comes down to not just relationships with women, but also relationships with people in general as well. So I do want to thank you for that. EC, it's always a pleasure. I can't wait till next month. Tell me what you're gonna bring to the table. I would like to say that in communication, what I have learned in my journey is you have to be intentional with everything that you do.
That's right.
So before I speak, before I act, I always ask myself, what's my intentions by doing this or saying this?
Good.
And if my intentions is not pure, then I don't say it.
Good.
Good.
That's good. I'm gonna use that. I like that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
The-
good.
The greater good goes a long ways.
Absolutely.
The reward is greater than your minds can think.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Because if I know, so then if I know I'm gonna say or do something, I ask myself back, if that person say or did to me, what I'm going to do to them.
Right.
Well, I like it.
Right.
And if I don't like it, then why am I going to do it?
Right.
You know, so that's the inner talk that I have with myself before I actually have the outer talk.
Right.
And so that's the work that I've been trying to work on. And I think that's something I think everybody needs to be more cognizant of, is doing, is being more intentional about what they say and what they do. And then it probably be less issues.
Right.
Less conflict.
Less
Right.
conflict.
Right.
But I do want to offer Mr. Tim Spears an opportunity to come back. Once a month, I do the men's roundtable discussion, and so I'm very intentional and unapologetic of trying to showcasing black men in a positive light, and showing men of all different ages, mindsets, and so we have communication, because society and media have showcased us in one particular way. We're very animalistic, very, we don't want to work, we don't do this, we don't do that, but it's more of us than what it is that's shown on TV. And it's up to us to, use our platforms to showcase that, and what you bring to the table, I think is needed, not just in a relationship standpoint for the women, but also building the men so they could be the kings that they really are.
That's
That's
right.
right.
That's right.
That's right. I will be in touch with you so we can have that done. So probably for one of the April shows.
Okay, now I love the invitation. I love to be called to service. So you all heard him say this. So now y'all don't never see me again. It's his fault. It's not my fault. It's his fault. Okay, so it's on him.
It's gonna be in April, because
All
I
right.
feel for March, but I will definitely have you in April for sure, because
I'm gonna keep reminding
she gonna keep your eyes on that. But but and we've had these conversations where, as I have grown with the show, I want to elevate the show on the same vibration that I'm on in my personal life.
Right.
And so in doing that, I need to to bring people on who's going to have the same vibration.
Right.
And I know I'm not going to reach everybody, but I'm going to reach the ones that is going to catch that energy, catch that vibration. And from there, I can help somebody, be the best version of themselves in all parts of their lives, stuff like that. So
Okay.
I need people like you to help me facilitate what's the intention of us as black men to be.
And conversations is just waiting.
It
It's
is.
just like he's waiting.
So it's gonna be a done deal.
Done deal. Okay. Well, we gotta tune in for that and look out for In Conversation
Yes.
with Dr. Ra.
So in
And
conversation,
we'll
is it gonna be about relationships, or it's gonna be about like?
just everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Even the
Everything.
same as what we're discussing, or you're
here.
discussing with us right now.
But we definitely, I wanted to
Right.
say we are going to have a girl, a female,
Mm-hmm.
and I would definitely love
yeah.
for you to come and co-host with me on that.
Yes, I'll be there.
Find the time.
No, I'm gonna be
'Cause
there.
we want to do a number of topics that's going to affect women.
Yeah, we need to talk it out,
Yeah, we
because we
will,
gotta
yeah.
get our priorities together.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much again. Before I end the show, I do want to say that you have to speak into existence what you want to come into your life. A few years ago, I had a vision for myself to where, I'm very big on black men, and I feel a lot of times that black men does not get the same work or whatever that women get. There's always empowerment summits for women and all that kind of stuff. There's not nothing for men to get together and try to become the best version of themselves. And so that was one of my visions for myself maybe a few years ago. I never really specified how it was going to be done. It was going to be my thing, or it was going to be at the right time somebody's going to include me into it. And part of it was that I wanted to take it like a tour and go to different cities and make it happen. So in March, at the end of March, I'll be going to Greenville, South Carolina to do the Wellness Summit.
Okay.
With that, she said Sunday that we're going to make it into like a little mini tour. So each presenter, we're going to go to their city. So we're going to do one here in Atlanta, represent me and Danny, and then we're going to go one in Virginia, and we're going to do one in Chicago. And then based off of that, we're going to see how that go, and we really want to like spill into it to 2020 as we get into the election year, to really speak to the men and make them understand, because they don't. When you look at the news, I don't watch a lot of it, but when they talk about the elections, they talk about the black women, how the black women, is the key. So they're not even thinking about us, and they should not. We got to get to the point where we got to start having them overlooking us, and so that's part of the intent with that as well.
And there's so much work that needs to be done in that area, and with men. So I'm so happy to hear the things that you're doing.
Thank you so much. So with that being said, this is the Wellness Architect with the Wellness Architect Show. Thank you for an amazing show. I hope you let the seed they plant today marinate, and that it harvest into the reality for your life and your relationships. Be great, be authentic, be intentional, and we're out. Peace.
Next time.